Morning. I was doing some last minute revisions and going over my talk this morning, and I got to thinking, I am really something. I am clever. And I thought, no, that's not really the energy I want to bring into this talk. So, in an effort to adjust that energy, I called Comcast customer service and attempted to get a human on the line. Of course, I didn't succeed in that, but it did humble me. Today's talk is called I Am Unified. A search for our essence among our various delusions of individuality. This is condensed, you're welcome, from chapter 2 of a book I'm working on called Approaching Spirituality. My plan is to turn the chapters into talks followed by workshops that will be co-ed, by the way. I was so disappointed that I couldn't sign up for Eileen's workshop. With exercises that bring us toward our essential unity. Our story becomes our identity. It becomes our I am. We're exceptionally conditioned in regards to who we think we are. Considering this, a question emerged. It was a spiritual question, and it was inspired by the unfathomable vastness of all that is. The question is, to what extent am I unique within the vastness? The vastness is all around us in the variety of objects we create, the plants and animals, planets, solar systems, galaxies, opinions. Almost from birth, we are encouraged to pick and choose from the vastness, deciding which features to align with, which objects we prefer, and which subjects to find interesting. These decisions form our I ams and reduce our vastness. Every label we attach to ourselves is an I am statement. Our I ams are the artificial boundaries we set up to differentiate ourselves from everyone and everything else. They all say the same thing, which is, I am separate. When a person practicing Buddhism says, make me one with everything, he or she is not ordering a hot dog. The person is attempting a level of consciousness where unity with everything is deeply sensed. There is not a me with everything else as a background. There is me as part of everything else. When we see ourselves with a sense of absoluteness, we think we shrink our potential, and we also form barriers of separation with the rest of humanity and, in fact, with the rest of reality. In effect, we become less human, less connected to others, and less connected with reality. I am essentially implies I am not. I am this, but not that. I am as part of our ego's need to be absolutely separate, identified as an individual. Every I am becomes a magnet seeking polarization. Our moods are a great example of this. If I am sad, my mind will seek justification for the sadness. It will polarize away from gladness. It will do this by seeking sad thoughts to uphold and justify the sadness. The same is true for other emotions. Seek and ye shall find. This suggests that we're mostly responsible for our moods, and generally, that's not a comfortable thought. It's more comfortable to blame our emotional experience on external causes, especially another person. We can find this idea of I am in the metaphorical story of Eve eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thereafter placing all of human experience in the arena of this is good or this is evil, or more personally, I am good or I am evil. We clearly have both of those potentials, but neither is the essential I am. My first serious contemplation of I am was inspired by a 12-step program I attended for good reason. These programs are very traditional, and traditions can be very sticky. One of their favorites is the tradition of identifying with your problem to the extent that you don't have a problem, you are a problem. You're expected to refer to yourself as that problem anytime you address the group. Hi, I'm Don, and I am an addict. For me, at least, there was a sense of pride in that identification. It meant I was finally able to admit that addiction was a primary problem. Studying psychology and spirituality, which is the study of humanness from different angles, put me at odds with the tradition of identifying as an addict. It was important to admit when a behavior becomes self-defeating, but counterintuitive to claim that behavior as yourself. To say I am an addict is to say I am a self-defeating behavior. I was studying personal psychology, brain chemistry, and therapy, seeking a comprehensive understanding of I am. The psychology came from books, the therapy from being in therapy, and the pharmacology from a class and from books, instead of from baggies the way I used to study it. Last but surely not least, I started to study matters of the spirit. I wanted to know, but not in the sense that I wanted to possess knowledge. I wanted to apply knowledge as a test for whether or not it was indeed wisdom. When, as a result of my various studies, I started to refer to myself at meetings as being in recovery, instead of I am an addict, there was open hostility toward me. I was targeted with comments such as, you just think you're better than the rest of us. And that might have been true, except that I didn't think of them as addicts either. It was tantamount to going to a fundamentalist church and saying, I'm open to various ideas about God. I tolerated the intolerance for a good while until finally, out of self-preservation, I said, I am out of here. Every moment we drag every previous moment, we bring our I ams with us, and it interferes with a full and authentic experience of the current moment. How authentic can a moment be if we're subjecting it to our hope chest or regret chest, full of identities big and small? Many of our I ams are situational responses offered within the context of the time and place we are being asked a question. What do you do is rarely a request for an accounting of how you spend your day. It's looking for I am followed by an occupation. How are you isn't asking for a choice between Darwinian evolution or creationism. It's looking for I am followed by fine. We have many I am delusions. I am what I think. I am what I feel. I am what I do. I am my past. I am my body. I am my personality. I am what I have. I am constructions from my experience as a human with a physical body. But to search for unity is to search for an essence that we have in common. Yes, I think. And yes, my ego tells me I am my thoughts. But how true can that be when my thoughts are full of conjecture, assumptions, and misinformation? My thoughts ricochet around my mind. Of course, there is also what does not ricochet, those thoughts I hold to be absolute and unchanging. But even they are mostly a product of my ego desiring to be correct and reinforced by how long I have believed them to be true. Most of it is challengeable on the closest of inspections and related more to my personality than my essential self. When I'm feeling intensely, my perception shifts from believing I am my thoughts to believing I am my feelings. I am mad, I am sad, I am glad, or I am scared. These feelings can be so powerful as to disrupt clear thinking. These emotions aren't about our essence, but rather about our perceptions. If our perceptions shift, so will the emotions. For example, if I fear for my life and then something in the situation changes so that I perceive safety, the emotion will shift from scared to glad. What we're feeling in the moment is temporary, and what we're looking for is what is unified and eternal. I am what I do can be a powerful perception, as we can be very invested in our doing. What we do can have great influence over our personality, our emotional status, and other aspects of our I amness. What we do involves how we work, how we play, our hobbies, how we relax, and how we relate to others. What we do changes as we go through life, hopefully, but not always, reflecting a growing maturation process. What we do has little, if anything, to do with what we are. We may take credit for what we do, but our essential self isn't something we can take credit for. I am my past. This delusion is very sticky. It is perhaps more of a prison than the other delusions. It is based on the idea that the sum of my experiences has created me as I am. This delusion derives its power over us from the degree of truth there is in the idea. It is true that our experience of the present is heavily influenced by our past, and all our past really does is prejudice our view and keep us from learning all that the present moment has to teach. I like the phrase, I am becoming. I am my body. This delusion is very powerful for the sake of our five senses. We do touch, smell, taste, hear, and see. This creates in us a connection to our physical environment that is so pervasive as to encourage us to believe that the physical environment is all that there is. These sensations are very real, and they relate to a sense of existence in a very profound way. I am also means I exist. And nothing validates this like the five senses that continuously confirm our existence. Whatever there is beyond the body and its senses is what we're approaching when we approach unity. I am my possessions. In the United States, we live in one of the most material, most commercial countries in the world. Almost from birth, we are inundated with messaging about what we have, what we should want to have, and how that should affect our sense of success and self-worth. We all know people who love to show off their latest acquisition, almost as if they're saying, look who I am now that I have this latest thing. It's powerful programming, and it comes at us from every direction. Prevalence of advertising in our society is pervasive and invasive, everywhere, all at once, all the time. What we have often creates a sense of entitlement. The idea that we should have power over others based on what we have. The idea that our material wealth is character. I am my personality. By personality, I mean the collective ideas we have about who we are and how we are uniquely different from all others. The personality is essentially our ego, that part of our thinking mind that contains all of the thoughts we have about being a separate and separated entity. Our personality is constructed out of the sum total of our life's experiences, but it's much more complicated than that. We are very complex. Reality is very complex, and other people are very complex. We are experiencing life within this triad of complexity. And our various I ams are based on the various things we have thus far come to believe And yet, much of what we have come to believe is faulty due to that triad of complexity. What I'm saying is that our personality is not only a faulty construction of who we are, it doesn't even come close to what we are. I am the roles I play. Consider those roles: child, student, teacher, sibling, parent, cousin, aunt, employee, supervisor, employer, spiritual leader, political leader. So many. And each occupying a section of space in our I am structure. So many that we lose track. All of these roles imply responsibilities, such as being a role model. The student is responsible for learning, the teacher responsible for teaching. Sometimes we live up to the responsibilities of a specific role, and sometimes not, infusing these roles with either pride or regret. I am proud or I am regretful. We didn't arrive with any of these roles, and we won't be taking them with us when we depart. Death has no buddy system. I am my accumulated pain. It's true, life often hurts. It's true that our conscious mind labels these pains as a bad thing, as if they have no usefulness. Pain, however, can be a very connecting force to humanity. It produces empathy. For how could we relate to another's pain without knowing our own? Without knowing about pain, knowing its usefulness, we have no choice but to push it inside where it accumulates until we don't have pain, we are pain. We'll grow until it's all we have to give, and then we will either inflict it on others or withdraw from others. There's no greater teacher than pain. Suffering can blind us or allow us to see in whole new ways. Pain is the most common experience that we have. We can come to feel like we are a little more than our pain, like the universe is conspiring to hurt us. But pain is perhaps the easiest way to experience our unity. I think, I feel, I do. I have a body and a personality and a past and possessions and roles that I find myself in and common pain. All of these things can contribute to a sense of an individualized self. But none of these things are my essential self. They're just reflections of my experiences. The essential self is pure consciousness wanting to be refined and expanded. It is the part of us that can look at our delusions of separateness with understanding and see them as phases we go through on the path of expansion as we approach unity. The essential self doesn't need to judge where we are on the path toward unity. It just needs to be on the path. Namaste.